10 common mistakes that throw your creatine in the trash and harm your body. Creatine is, without a doubt, one of the most efficient supplements when it comes to muscle mass gain. Several studies prove its effectiveness in increasing strength, power, and hypertrophy. However, many people end up wasting much of this supplement's potential because they make basic mistakes when consuming it. Today, you'll see the 10 most common and dangerous mistakes we should never make when taking creatine, so you don't waste your money and, most importantly, don't harm your own body. And no, creatine does not cause hair loss. There are simply no reliable scientific studies that prove this information. Stay attentive until the end because mistake number 5 is the most common. Mistake number 10, not increasing water intake when starting to take creatine. One of the most basic mistakes people make when starting creatine supplementation is not increasing their water intake. This happens because many don't understand how creatine actually works in the body. Creatine works by increasing water retention within muscle cells, what we call the volumizing effect. This process is fundamental for protein synthesis and for gaining strength and muscle mass. When you start taking creatine, your muscle cells begin to retain more water than normal. If you don't increase your daily fluid intake, your body may become dehydrated in other areas. Dehydration, even mild, can cause headaches, fatigue, decreased physical performance, and even kidney problems in more severe cases. Ideally, you should increase your water intake by at least 16 to 34 fluid ounces per day beyond what you normally consume. A practical tip is to observe the color of your urine. It should always be clear, indicating good hydration. Some athletes report cramps and muscle discomfort when they start taking creatine without adequately increasing water intake. This happens precisely because the body has to redistribute the available water, impairing the hydration of other tissues and bodily functions. Mistake 9. Taking creatine on an empty stomach. Another common mistake is taking creatine on an empty stomach. Creatine is better absorbed when consumed with a source of carbohydrates. This happens because carbohydrates stimulate insulin release, which in turn increases creatine uptake by muscle cells. Studies show that combining creatine with about 1 to 1 3/4 ounces of high glycemic index carbohydrates can increase absorption by up to 60% compared to consumption on an empty stomach. Carbohydrates such as banana, white rice, sweet potato, white bread, or even natural juice are excellent options to accompany your dose of creatine. Besides the absorption issue, taking creatine on an empty stomach can cause gastrointestinal discomfort in many people. Symptoms such as abdominal pain, nausea, and diarrhea are relatively common when creatine is consumed without food. This happens because it can increase stomach acidity and irritate the intestinal mucosa when there are no other foods in the digestive system. A very effective strategy is to consume your daily dose of creatine right after training, along with a carbohydrate source. At this moment, your body is more receptive to nutrient absorption, and you'll be optimizing both creatine absorption and muscle recovery. If you train fasting in the morning, consider taking your creatine after training, during breakfast, and not before exercise. The difference in timing won't affect long-term results, but it will make a big difference in digestive comfort and absorption efficiency. Mistake 8. Ignoring creatine quality to save money. In times of economic uncertainty, it's natural for many people to try to save on everything, including supplements. However, when it comes to creatine, cheap can be very expensive. The quality of this supplement varies enormously between brands, and opting for low-quality products can not only reduce effectiveness, but also pose health risks. High-quality creatine undergoes rigorous purity tests and contains at least 99.9% creatine monohydrate. The cheaper versions may contain contaminants, fillers, and even compounds potentially harmful to health. Some studies have already found traces of heavy metals and other impurities in creatines from unknown or very cheap brands. Low-quality creatines also tend to be less soluble, causing more gastrointestinal discomfort and being less efficient in absorption. Often, these cheaper versions don't even correctly inform the actual amount of creatine present in the product, which compromises the entire supplementation. When choosing your creatine, look for brands that have quality certifications, such as the CreaPure seal, which guarantees high-purity German creatine. Also check if the manufacturer provides analysis reports and purity tests. Reliable brands tend to be more transparent about their manufacturing processes and quality control. Remember, you are consuming this supplement daily and for long periods. Saving a little can cost not only inferior results, but also put your health at risk. Mistake 7. Not taking it on non-training days. This is a surprisingly common mistake. Many people believe they only need to take creatine on training days. This idea is completely wrong. Creatine is not a pre-workout or a stimulant that works only at the moment of exercise. It works through a cumulative effect, gradually increasing phosphocreatine stores in the muscles over time. To keep these levels high and stable, supplementation needs to be continuous every day, regardless of whether you're going to train or not. When you skip the dose on non-training days, creatine levels in the muscles begin to drop, and you may lose part of the accumulated progress. Moreover, muscle recovery doesn't happen only on training days. In fact, it's precisely on rest days that your body works most on rebuilding and strengthening muscle fibers. Creatine plays an important role in this process, providing energy to muscle cells even at rest, and assisting in anabolic processes. The ideal is to establish a daily routine for creatine supplementation, preferably always at the same time, to create a habit and not forget. Mistake 6. Choosing the wrong type of creatine. With the growth of the supplement market, dozens of different types of creatine have emerged, each promising to be superior to the others. HCl creatine, Cre-alkaline, ethyl ester creatine, buffered creatine, liquid creatine, among others. This variety ends up confusing many consumers, who end up choosing more expensive or less effective options. The truth, backed by hundreds of scientific studies, is that creatine monohydrate continues to be the most efficient, safe, and economically viable form. It's the type of creatine with the most research proving its efficacy and long-term safety. The other forms generally don't have sufficient scientific evidence to justify their higher price or claims of superiority. HCl creatine is frequently promoted as more soluble and with less water retention, requiring smaller doses. Although it really is more soluble in water, there is no conclusive evidence that this translates into better practical results. It may be an alternative for people who feel a lot of gastrointestinal discomfort with monohydrate, but for most, it doesn't justify the higher price. For people with gastrointestinal sensitivity, micronized creatine can be a good option, as its smaller particles facilitate dissolution and absorption, reducing digestive discomfort. But still, it's essentially creatine monohydrate, just with different processing. In summary, unless you have some specific condition or intolerance to monohydrate, it continues to be the best choice for the vast majority of people. It's the most studied, safest in the long term, and most cost-effective. Don't be swayed by marketing promises without solid scientific backing. Before we continue to the 5th mistake, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Having constant access to correct and science-based information is what will make you constantly improve your body without risk of injuries. Mistake 5. Mixing it in vitamin or protein shakes. Many people, for practicality, mix their daily dose of creatine together with protein powder, vitamins, or other supplements. Seems logical, right? A single drink with all nutrients. The main problem is that creatine doesn't dissolve completely in thick liquids like protein shakes. When this happens, much of the creatine ends up staying at the bottom of the glass or shaker, and you end up literally throwing money down the drain when you wash the container. In some cases, you may be consuming only half the dose you think you're taking. Additionally, creatine can interact with other compounds present in these shakes, reducing its stability and bioavailability. Some studies suggest that when mixed with certain types of proteins or in acidic media like fruit juices, for example, creatine can degrade more quickly, converting to creatinine, which doesn't have the same ergogenic benefits. The ideal way to consume creatine is to mix it in room temperature water, in a separate glass, and drink immediately after dissolution. Stir well to ensure all the creatine dissolves properly. Another alternative is the dry scooping method, where you put the dose directly in your mouth and then drink water to swallow. This method ensures you're consuming 100% of the dose, without losing anything at the bottom of the glass. Mistake 4. Thinking you'll have instant results. We live in an era of instant gratification, where we expect to see immediate results in everything we do. With creatine, many people end up giving up prematurely because they don't see drastic transformations right in the first weeks of use. Creatine doesn't work like a pre-workout that you feel the effect in minutes. Its mechanism of action depends on muscle saturation, a process that takes time. For most people, the complete benefits only begin to appear after 2 to 4 weeks of consistent supplementation. Some individuals, especially the so-called non-responders, people with less response to creatine, may take even longer to notice significant differences. The first signs that creatine is working are usually subtle. Perhaps you can do 1 or 2 more repetitions in an exercise or feel less fatigued between sets. The initial weight gain due to greater water retention in muscle cells is also an indicator that the supplement is being effective, but this doesn't mean lean muscle mass gain yet. The real gains in strength and hypertrophy happen gradually, over months of consistent training with proper supplementation. Studies show that after 8 to 12 weeks, the gains can be quite significant compared to placebo, but this process is progressive and requires patience. Mistake 3. Using the wrong dose. When it comes to creatine, many people think that, if a little is good, taking more must be better. Some even consume 20 grams or more per day for prolonged periods, far beyond what's necessary. The problem is that, once the muscles are saturated with creatine, the excess will simply be eliminated by the body, resulting literally in money flushed down the toilet. There are 2 more efficient protocols backed by research, being, number 1, do the loading phase and then maintenance phase. In this protocol, we basically start taking 20 grams per day, divided into 4 doses of 5 grams, for 5 to 7 days, and then continue taking only 3 to 5 grams per day in a single dose, continuously. This phase accelerates muscle saturation, but it's not strictly necessary. Number 2, start taking 3 to 5 grams daily, and muscle saturation will be achieved after approximately 3 to 4 weeks. The final results will be the same. It will just take a little longer to reach complete saturation. For people with greater muscle mass, such as above 198 pounds, the maintenance dose can be adjusted to 5 to 7 grams daily. For women or people with less muscle mass, 3 grams daily are usually sufficient. It's important to emphasize that extremely high doses for prolonged periods can overload the kidneys, especially in people predisposed to kidney problems. In addition, excess can intensify side effects such as water retention and gastrointestinal discomfort without bringing additional benefits. Mistake 2, not consulting a doctor before starting to take it. In the information age, many people start creatine supplementation based only on advice from gym friends or fitness influencers without consulting health professionals. Although creatine is considered one of the safest supplements available, there are situations where its use may be contraindicated or require monitoring. People with a history of kidney or liver problems should be especially cautious. Creatine is metabolized by the kidneys and, in cases of compromised kidney function, can increase the overload on these organs. Even though studies show that creatine is safe for healthy people, individuals with pre-existing conditions need personalized evaluation. Those with a history of kidney stones should also consult a doctor before starting supplementation, as there is a theoretical risk that creatine may exacerbate this condition in predisposed people, especially if there is inadequate hydration. Some medical conditions, such as neuromuscular diseases, may have specific protocols for creatine supplementation, which only a specialist doctor can correctly recommend. Even apparently healthy people may have undiagnosed subclinical conditions that will only be detected in blood and urine tests. Therefore, the ideal is to perform basic tests before starting any supplementation, especially markers of kidney and liver function. A sports physician, nutritionist, or nutritional physician can not only assess the safety of supplementation for your specific case, but also help integrate creatine into a complete nutritional plan, enhancing your results. Remember, consultation with qualified professionals is an investment in your long-term health, not an unnecessary expense. Mistake 1, not monitoring side effects. The last mistake, but not least important, is ignoring the signs your body gives during creatine supplementation. Many people simply start taking the supplement and don't pay attention to the body's reactions, missing opportunities to adjust the protocol to maximize benefits and minimize discomforts. Creatine is generally well tolerated by most people, but side effects can occur and vary individually. The most common include water retention, initial weight gain, gastrointestinal discomfort such as cramps, diarrhea or constipation, muscle cramps, and, in rare cases, headaches. Water retention is expected and part of creatine's mechanism of action. This effect is positive when it occurs within muscle cells, but can be uncomfortable if there is excessive subcutaneous retention. If you notice significant swelling, especially in the face or extremities, you may need to adjust the dose or hydration. Gastrointestinal problems generally indicate that you need to divide the daily dose into smaller portions, always take with food, or try a micronized form of creatine, which tends to be gentler on the digestive system. If you notice frequent cramps, this may be a sign of electrolyte imbalance, especially magnesium, potassium, or sodium. Increasing water and electrolyte intake usually solves the problem. A good practice is to keep a simple diary in the first weeks of supplementation, noting how you feel, any side effects, your weight and performance in workouts. This will help identify patterns and make necessary adjustments. It's also recommended to perform periodic blood tests, especially kidney markers such as creatinine and urea, to ensure that your body is handling long-term supplementation well. If you notice any severe or persistent side effect, don't hesitate to stop use and consult a health professional. Remember that, as safe as creatine is for the general population, each body is unique and responds differently. If you liked this, and also want to learn about 11 training mistakes that throw your muscle mass gains in the trash, we've left a video appearing right now on the screen, showing and better explaining each of them. Thank you for watching until here, and may God bless you, my friend.